What's up, Mindsetters? Welcome to it, grade 12's Business Studies. It is your time. Make sure you hit me up on the page. But for now, let me introduce myself. I am Looney, and with me is Dave. Dave,
Hi.
how are you doing?
Good, and you, man?
I'm good, thanks. All of these new faces, guys. I'm just so surprised and I'm so excited to have new teachers because I haven't been on a Thursday for quite some time, hey? Don't forget, though, to hit us up on Facebook. On facebook.com/LearnExtra. On Twitter, our handle is @LearnExtra. And don't forget to download the show notes on learnextra.co.za/live. Dave, what are we doing today?
Today we're doing socio-economic issues and corporate citizenship. Now, you must remember that socio-economic issues form part of the business environment, and in particular the macro environment. Now, in the macro environment, we cannot control these issues, but they have a direct impact on the business. However, we can look to try and deal with them, and we can deal with them through corporate social investment.
Okay, can I just say one more thing? Mindsetters, I'll be learning with you as well. Thank you so much to Macmillan for sponsoring our show. Dave, over to you now.
Right. So today we're going to be going through a lot of past exam questions, just showing you what type of questions I'll be asking you, as well as the answers that they expect from you. So let's get straight into it, guys. Right, so the first question is, identify 3 socio-economic issues that may pose challenges to the business and explain how they could address them. Right, so let's go through this here, guys. So the first thing, right, so we've got to identify any 3. Right, any 3 socio-economic issues. Right, so there's a variety of socio-economic issues. We just have to give 3. Now, a lot of times in your exams, people give every socio-economic issue that they can give. Don't waste your time. You must remember in your final exam and your prelim exam, it's 300 marks in 180 minutes. So that's 1 2/3 of a mark per minute. So you don't want to waste your time there, right? And then how they may pose a challenge to the business, and explain how the business could address them. So right, let's just have a look at what our answer is here. So the first issue is HIV AIDS, right? Okay, HIV AIDS, massive issue in South Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa has got one of the highest HIV infection rates in the world, and it just damages our workforce massively. So this is a massive issue that the business has to take cognizance of, especially if we're dealing with workers, factory workers, miners, etc. So let's look here. So the business could build clinics and health centers for the communities. So I know in Diepsloot, one of the businesses surrounding the area there, because they saw Diepsloot had one of the highest HIV positive infection rates, they built a clinic so that they could help the people get medication, antiretrovirals, and also help in the education of the prevention of HIV AIDS, right? So the next thing that we could do is train counselors to provide assistance to affected persons, supply affected employees with antiretroviral medication, right? So if you look, a lot of businesses will get tax rebates because they supply the local communities that they work in with counselors to help try and prevent HIV AIDS. Now, this will have a positive impact on the business because if we keep the people alive for longer, we're going to have more customers going into the future. The community is going to want to support us because we are looking after them. And we're also making sure that we've got a healthy workforce, because every time that we lose a worker, we've got to get another worker in, train them up, and it takes them a couple of months before they are at their optimal productivity. Right, so we want to try and avoid that by looking after the people in our community. You can also give any other relevant answer that has to do with HIV. Right, the next one we have is unemployment. Right, South Africa has got a massive problem with unemployment. We've got a huge unemployment rate, and that will also lead into other socio-economic issues that we'll get into, such as crime and alcohol and substance abuse. All right, so the first thing that we can do is we have the skills development program through learnerships, all right? Also the Skills Development Act helps us there as well. Right, we can offer bursaries to students. Right, you'll see that there's a lot of companies that will offer bursaries to underprivileged students so as to get them out of that unemployment spiral and to better their lives. Right, we could provide casual jobs to members of the community, right, provide retraining. Right, our next issue is poverty. And a lot of our socio-economic issues go hand in hand. So if there's large unemployment in the community, that means there's going to be large poverty because the people aren't going to have money to satisfy their basic needs. If they can't satisfy their basic needs, such as getting food every day, they're not going to be able to concentrate at school. If you don't concentrate at school, you're going to get poor grades. If you get poor grades, you're not going to get a job. You're therefore going to be unemployed. And it's a continuous downward spiral. So that's why businesses have to look at getting involved there. Right, so we could provide housing subsidies to employees, right? Pay higher wages to employees, sponsor orphans with food, clothing, and education. Right, now that's a big one there. I've got a friend that I was at school with, and he runs an orphanage, and they get a lot of international donors to sponsor them money for school fees and clothes and food, so that they can give these children an opportunity to break out of their poverty cycle and to make something of their lives. Right, and we could also have canteen facilities. So if you look, a lot of businesses will give their employees food so that they can be more productive, and also it helps them uplift themselves and it makes them healthier as well, because if you don't have any food, your body's going to deteriorate quite a bit, you're not going to be productive, you could lose your job and you get a lot more sick. Right. And if we look at human rights here, we have to make a provision for healthy working conditions. Right. We cannot have our workers working in an environment that is going to make them sick or have a negative impact on their health. Right. Because we are going against their human rights. And one of our human rights is that we have the right to safety and working in a safe environment. Right. We could allow employees the freedom to practice their own religion, which is very important. This is in the Employment Equity Act. Right, we can follow any religion that we want. Treat all stakeholders with dignity and respect. Okay, now don't confuse a stakeholder with a shareholder. A stakeholder is someone who has a stake in the running of the company. So that could be the local community, employees, customers, suppliers. They all have a stake in the business, because without the business, the customers might not be able to satisfy their needs. The local community might have large unemployment. Employees will be unemployed, right? And our suppliers might not be able to do business with us. So we've got to treat everyone with respect and dignity, right? You wouldn't want to be treated disrespectfully, so therefore you must go out and treat everyone with respect. Right. So, and then as well, any other relevant answers, right? So if you can back up your answer and make it relevant to what the question is asking from you, then you should get the marks there. All right, let's go on to our next question here, right? That says here, South Africa has been ravaged by unemployment and HIV AIDS. Discuss the impact that each one of these socio-economic issues had on the business and on the economy of the country. So let's look here. Our two socio-economic issues, unemployment, HIV AIDS, right? So now they want us to discuss, not list, discuss the impact that each one of these has had on the socio-economic issues has had on the business and on the economy of the country. Alright, so let's see what's here. So first we're going to start with unemployment, right? Rigid labor legislation has been a major reason why businesses are less keen to keep and appoint workers, right? Okay, so now if you look at South Africa's labor laws, we've got some of the strictest labor laws in the country, so in the world, sorry. So a lot of people aren't that keen to appoint new workers and get more workers in, because the workers have so many laws, and it makes it difficult for the employers to be able to get rid of employees that aren't working productively in the country. So therefore, I mean, if you look at the farm laws that came in this year with the minimum wage, The farm workers got a lot more money for their minimum wage, but what was the end result? Is that a lot of farmers retrenched a lot of the workers. So instead of all of the workers being happy because they got more money, now our unemployment rate has increased. Right. The recession or slow economic growth also contributes to this problem. Right. If we look at the entire global economy, right, we started in 2008 with the credit crunch that affected Europe, North America, and it's affected all the economies in the world. If you look at China, they've had a lot of slow growth because their biggest markets, Europe and North America, have gone into a recession, right? So that's also going to affect our unemployment greatly. And you look in South Africa, it has had that ripple effect on us here, right? The strengthening of the rand has caused many gold mines to close, resulting in many job losses, all right? This is not the case now at the moment, because if you look at the rand exchange rate to the dollar, so $1 is going to equal about 9 rand 90. Okay, so the rand has weakened quite a bit, which is quite good for the gold mines. But on the flip side of that, that means our oil price is a lot more expensive. If our oil price is more expensive, that means our petrol is going to be more expensive, which is going to impact on the transportation of our goods. The transportation of the goods goes up, and people have less money to spend. That means companies might have to cut jobs, which is also going to add to unemployment. So it's a very, very delicate balancing act. Yes, the gold mines might be doing well because the rand is weak, but the rest of the economy might suffer. And also you must remember that our imports become a lot more expensive. So you'll be paying more for the same thing than you did a year ago. All right. Okay. Unemployment leads to poverty, crime, and other social and welfare problems, right? So I said that earlier, right? If someone is unemployed and they're starving, right, they might go out and say, right, I'm going to go and shoplift now that I can feed my family, right? They go there, they are causing crime. So that shop owner might say, right, I'm shutting my shop down, I'm tired of all this crime. That means he's going to have to retrench all of his workers. He retrenches all of his workers, that means there's going to be even more unemployment. Right. Cheap imports have led to local manufacturers closing as they are unable to compete. So if you look at a lot of the imports that we get from China, I'm sure a lot of you guys have been to those Chinese malls all over the country. They have a lot of clothes that are very cheap. So you can go and buy a smart shirt for 30 rand. Right. Where you look in South Africa, to make that same shirt is going to cost 80 rand. But because people don't have a lot of money here, they're going to go and buy the cheaper shirt, which is going to result in our textile industry suffering. And it's going to result in more unemployment because they cannot keep up with the cheap imports, right, and their expensive overheads. Right, and we also have pressure from trade unions, also causes businesses to reduce staff. So if we look at the moment, especially in the gold mining sector, there have been a lot of strikes and talks from trade unions for the workers to go on strike. So the gold mines might say, "Oh, we don't want to have any more staff here because it's just going to cause more labor unrest. So what we're going to do is we're going to retrench a lot of our staff." So the trade unions, yes, they might be getting an increase for the workers that get left behind, but you've got to ask yourself, is it worth the payoff of having so many thousands of workers retrenched? Okay, then the next one, HIV Aids. Right. People dying of this illness reduces the labor force. Right, so one of the biggest problems is that these workers pass away and we're left with this pool of workers that are unskilled or do not have the experience that we need, right? Which costs the business in the long term. I mean, imagine you have a truck driver who was skilled for 20 years, knew what he was doing, had all of that experience. He passes away from HIV AIDS, and then you get someone in who's just been driving a truck for a day. They're going to make mistakes. They might have accidents which could cause us to lose all of our goods and causes a massive expenses for the company, right? And the companies are trying to eliminate those expenses to remain sustainable and profitable, right? So that's a massive thing. If we keep on losing our workforce, we're going to have an uneven balance, which is going to lead to even more unemployment in the country. Right. Many of these workers are skilled persons who fulfill key positions, such as I told you guys, the truck drivers, right? Workers with this illness stay away from work, and their absence has a negative influence on productivity, right? A lot of these people, like when you're sick, you cannot work. I'm sure a lot of you guys, when you've had flu and you've gone to school, you felt absolutely terrible and you didn't want to do any work, you don't want to be there. Now imagine that you have to work all day and you're HIV positive, you're feeling sick, your body's run down, you're not going to be productive, right? And then another thing that causes conflict within the workplace, because now I have to pick up someone else's work all the time. So I'm overworked, I'm not getting their pay, causes conflict and it causes productivity to go down, right? Also, people dying of HIV AIDS means that the consumer spending is less, which has a negative influence on the business. So if I had 1 million potential customers and 100,000 of them die from HIV AIDS, right, that means I've only got 900,000 customers that can buy my product. That means my pool of customers has got smaller. And you must remember that my competition is not going to say, oh, shame, you've lost 100,000 customers, don't worry, we're not going to do anything there. They also want to get into those pool of customers. So if our customers' pool has gone down, that means we're going to sell less products. If we sell less products, we're not going to be able to expand, and we're not going to be as profitable as we should be. Right? And business has to contribute more towards medical aid schemes. Right? So that's an added expense for the business. Right? So not only do they have less people that are being productive at work, they have to train more people now, which is going to cost them more money, but now they have to pay medical aid schemes, which is another expense to the business, which takes away from their bottom line, which is their profits. Right, now you must remember that if you're a company from overseas, why would you want to invest in a country where you are making such little profit? You rather want to go to a country where your profitability is going to be enhanced. Right? And children of parents who have died because of this illness become a burden to the community because of housing, education, and care of these children. Right? So these children who are now orphans, right, that means the community must look after them, the community's got to house them, they've got to feed them, right? They're not going to get a proper education. Because they're not going to get a proper education, they're going to be unemployed, and that's going to result in other socio-economic issues, such as maybe they're going to resort to crime, maybe they're going to go to substance abuse, right? And it's a whole downward spiral, so those people never get out of that poverty cycle. So we need to make sure that we can do something to help those people break out of their poverty cycle so that we can get the most out of them. Looney, are there any questions from our mindsetters?
Dave, the page is very quiet today, and I'm actually worried. They want us to probably take a break.
Well, maybe they're studying for their prelim exam, which is a good thing. No, but mindsetters,
please talk to us, please. Twitter and Facebook, facebook.com/LearnExtra, @LearnExtra on Twitter. Talk to us. I want to give questions to Dave, and you guys aren't making me do anything. Please, guys, talk to me, man. Should we take a short break, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Mindset is you are going to take a very short break, but I will keep on urging you to talk to me on Facebook and on Twitter until you guys talk. So we'll see you straight after this. Welcome back, Mindsetters, from that very short break. I hope you guys have been enjoying the show. If you've just tuned in, you are with Dave and Looney, and we're going over socio-economic, socio-economic issues.
Yes.
Right? That's the one. I never did business studies, guys, so I'm learning with you guys as you go along through the lesson. So, Dave, we finally have a question.
Yes.
From Spokazin Zalaze. When identifying socio-economic issues, do we need to state examples? Will they count for marks?
You have to see what the question says in there, and also look at the mark allocation. But it's never a bad thing to give examples there. You know, then you're showing the examiner that you have an understanding of that question, and you should get a mark there, provided it is what they ask for.
All right. And just a quick shout out to you, Spogazi. Thank you so much for being such a great mindsetter. And a shout out to Sandile Lunga as well. Hi guys, thank you so much, Dave.
Right, we're on to our next question here. All right, and it's identify and explain any 4 possible solutions of unemployment in South Africa. Right, so unemployment in South Africa is a massive, massive thing. So we have to come up with solutions to try and get a grip of the unemployment in South Africa so that South Africa can move forward. So let's see what they had to say here. All right. So the first one is businesses can be socially responsible by providing education and training for disadvantaged people through the skills development. All right. So as I mentioned already, you had the Skills Development Act that businesses can contribute to. All right. They could also run their own programs, which would fall under corporate social responsibility or corporate social investment, in which they can invest and go and train people in disadvantaged areas, teach them a skill so that they can go and become employed and they can get money and they can break out of that poverty cycle there. Right. Our next one, and this is a very important one, developing of entrepreneurial skills to give persons the opportunity to create jobs for themselves as well as for other people. Right. Now, entrepreneurship is very close to my heart. I think this is one of the ways that South Africa can break the unemployment cycle is by having more emphasis on entrepreneurship, right? A lot of you guys in school, you would have had to have done a business plan and learnt about entrepreneurship, right? But there has to be more emphasis on that. There's no point in people leaving school once they finish matric and they just sit and they don't do anything because they can't get into university because they don't have enough points or because they can't afford to go to university. At least if we've got that culture of entrepreneurship, people can go out there and they can create jobs. Now you must remember that all of you guys can go out and you can get a job. So I said to my matric class, there's 20 of them in there, I was like, right guys, all of you guys can go out and you can get a job. So that means we've got 20 people in South Africa who are employed. Or you can go out and become an entrepreneur. And if you become an entrepreneur and each one of you guys creates 9 jobs, that means that there are 200 people that are employed in South Africa now. Can you see how many more people get employed if we have more entrepreneurs? More entrepreneurs means more companies, that means more competition, and who's going to benefit from that? It's going to be the consumers. That means prices are going to get lowered because there's going to be so much competition, which means that people are going to have more money, and they're less likely going to fall into under the poverty line because now they've got more money to go and buy all the goods and services that they need, all right? Which is going to uplift the whole country rather than just everyone relying on one resource, the government, right? Expecting the government to help them out. If we have this entrepreneurial spirit in South Africa and we build it up, it means more people are going to have jobs and it's going to increase or decrease the unemployment rate in South Africa, right? We could also encourage learnerships to qualify in a career field where jobs are available. It's quite a big one, right? Learnership projects which give persons the opportunity to earn a salary while they are being trained for a specific career. So this is quite a good one. So you're going to get paid, right? You're not going to get paid an amazing salary, but you're going to get a salary, so you're going to get paid. You're able to take care of your basic needs, and you're also going to be trained in a skill. So by the time you've finished your training, you've got experience, you've got a skill, and you can go out into the workforce and go and look for a job. Rather than if you just left matric, you don't have any skills, and you don't have any money, right? Then you get back into that poverty cycle. You know, you might turn to crime or other socio-economic issues, and that just creates even more poverty. Right. Job creation projects by local municipalities and other institutions. Right, so if you look after the Great Depression, how America got out of their massive slump is that they had a lot of local community projects. So they get people to build roads, and everyone would get like a little salary, so that means the entire community got more money, they could buy more goods and services, therefore businesses wanted to invest in that community, so it uplifted the whole community. Now, our local municipalities can do that. They can either have local farms where people can grow herbs and vegetables and fruit, or they could teach people skills, get people to build roads. All of those local community projects give people skills as well as pay them a salary. Right? And then the implementation of the Skills Development Act and expanding of CETAs. Right. Okay. So the next question is, describe the term corporate social responsibility. So it's just describe it, only for 4 marks. So let's see what they have to say here. Right, so corporate social responsibility refers to the role played by corporate enterprises in providing for the urgent needs of the community in which they operate. So now, there was this big company, as I was saying earlier, around the Diepsloot area, right? They needed a whole bunch of workers there, so what they did was they built a clinic, right, so that people could get antiretrovirals, they could get treatment, right, and they could also help give education to prevent HIV Aids. Now, the whole reason why they did that was because they were operating in their local community, but also they wanted to see those people, they wanted to use them as their workers. Right, so it was a very give and take. They gave to the community all those essential services that they needed, and they also took all the workers that they needed from them. So it's a very amicable relationship there. Right. This program includes poverty alleviation, education, training, and HIV and AIDS clinics, and recreational facilities. All right. So that's quite an important thing. Right. We've got to make sure that we give something back to the community. We don't just want their workers, but we want the community to flourish, and we can do that by giving them parks. So you might see in a lot of the inner city areas around the country, especially in Johannesburg, there's companies that will fix up a park and give that to the community so that the community's got somewhere to go, somewhere to relax and enjoy the sun. Right? That's a big thing. That's giving back to the community. We don't just want to, if we're a business, we don't just want to take and take and take. We must give back because we are reliant on the community. If it wasn't for the community, we wouldn't have any customers and we wouldn't have any employees. If we don't have any of those, then we don't have a business. All right, let's go on to the next question there. All right, so this is a case study. Read the following case study and answer the questions that follow. So Grinica LTA's contribution to the community. Grinica LTA strives to ensure that its work benefits as many people as possible. So that's quite important there. It benefits as many people as possible while providing stability and security for future generations. Right. So if you look there, they're talking about sustainability. Right. The group has committed itself to spending 1% of annual earnings on corporate social investments, right? So if they had to earn 1 million rand, for example, say they said that they would spend 10,000 rand on corporate social investment, which is quite a substantial amount. Right, significant funds have been committed to the National Business Initiative, an organization created to enhance a business's contribution to South Africa's success. Right. The NBI's 3 main pillars to improve the status of ordinary South Africans are education, economic growth, and effective governance. Right, the group has recently allocated funding for the educational material for Maths Centre. Now, as you know, South Africa's maths is not one of the greatest in the world, so we need to pick it up, and it's one of our shortages. Professional teachers and the SACE schools. Right, bridge building competition, which aims to increase awareness and interest in the civil engineering profession among secondary school learners. Right, so I mean, if you look, South Africa's got a massive shortage of engineers. Right, the average civil engineer's age is 59, and you guys must remember that the retirement age is 65, so it means we've got a massive shortage of civil engineers. Now, civil engineers are the people that build our roads, bridges, buildings. We need those people, because if we don't have those people, we don't have that infrastructure. That then goes again to the macro environment. If we don't have infrastructure, why do overseas companies want to invest in South Africa? Right, so let's see what they had to say. Right, let's answer these questions. Identify 2 social responsibility programs implemented by Grinica LTA for the community. Right, so the first one is they're going to be upgrading existing schools. Like what they said there, that was one of their pillars, right? Building new schools in urban and rural areas, and then allocation of funds for safe schools, bridge building competition, right? Which is quite a big thing for the engineers, right? And the allocation of funds for educational material, for the math center, for professional teachers, right? And the National Business Initiative enhances education, economic growth, and effective governance, right? Question B, justify Grinica LTA's decision to spend 1%. So we got to justify of their annual earnings on CSR with regard to both the company and the community. So we must justify. Why must they spend this 1%? So let's see what we've got here, right? So firstly of all, it improves the image of the company. Now, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago we spoke about quality and we spoke about public relations. This is a good public relations exercise. People think, hey, look at these guys. They're spending a lot of money on us. This is what we want. We want to support them. They're not just these greedy fat cats. They're giving back to the community. Right. The company enjoys goodwill of customers and patronage. Right. Everyone wants to be a part of something awesome. Everyone wants to be a part of something good. Right. So if you can see that a company is doing good in your local community, you're obviously going to support them. If there's a company that's just polluting your local community, are you going to want to support them? No. Right. Highly skilled workers can be attracted. Example, engineers, right? The better skilled workers you have, the more productive they're going to be. The more productive they're going to be, the more money they're going to pull in. The more money they pull in, the more profitable the business is going to be. The more profitable the business is, the more likely it is to expand. And if we expand, we're going to employ more people. Right. It serves as a marketing strategy to increase sales. Right. We increase productivity through greater commitment of employees. Right. There are tax benefits for the company. This is quite a big thing there. A lot of companies want that. That means they're going to have more profit at the end of the day. It sets a trend for other companies to follow. So a lot of companies will say, right, we're giving R1 million towards corporate social investment. What are our competitors doing? So that's going to get their competition to say, oh, well, we don't want to be outdone here. We're going to give 1.1 million rand, right? Who's going to benefit from that in there? It's the community. Right, and then what are the benefits for the community? Right, first thing, job creation, right? Through job creation, we're going to have poverty alleviation because now people are going to get paid money that they can actually, they can get out of that poverty gap, right? The standard of living of the community is uplifted, right? Uplift the education and educational facilities of the community. Right, so can you see it's a nice trend, right? If we have job creation, we're going to create jobs for people. If people are going to have more jobs, then they're going to get out of their poverty gap. If we have proper schools, people are going to get, learners are going to get the proper marks that they deserve, and with those proper marks, they're going to be able to go to university or get better jobs. Because they get better jobs, they're going to pull their families out of poverty. They might become entrepreneurs, and then they employ even more people, get more people out of poverty, and it's a whole nice upward trend, right? Rather than that downward spiral trend that we have from poverty. Right, Looney, you think it's time for an ad break?
Okay. I've got a few questions for you, but I'll hold them for after the break.
Oh, right. Awesome.
Okay. Mindset is just to go to the break. I'd like to read this from Selo. He says, hey, the reason why we're so quiet is because we are really learning, and the way he's explaining makes everything clear. So thank you for that clarification, because I was starting to worry. But seeing that Dave is such an awesome teacher, you guys are not even typing on Facebook, you're listening attentively, and you're writing down notes and all of that. So thank you so much for that, Mindsetters. We will see you straight after this break. Welcome back, Mindsetters. I hope you guys are still on par with Dave because he's such an awesome teacher and he explains so well. You guys haven't been posting on Facebook, but we do have a few questions. But I just want to remind you that we do have a recruitment drive that we're running here at Mindset. We need you to tell your teachers, to tell your parents, to tell anyone that you know who is interested and knows something about the grade 10 to 12 CAPS syllabus and all of that program, if they're interested in the content development, review and video presentation. So if you could please just urge them to apply on mindset.co.za/learn/jobs for that post, guys. It does close, applications do close on the 26th of August, so make sure you ask them before then, but I will post all the information on our Facebook page. Dave, our questions. Okay, so we do have a question from Bonolo Mutle. And she's asking, as a manager of a certain business, in which ways can you deal with an infected person in the workplace? Because if you fire them, it's rude. What is the best strategy?
Well, obviously, you have all the different laws that govern the way we handle these those type of individuals. You cannot just fire someone because they're sick, right? That goes against a lot of laws in the country, and you could face a large lawsuit. The best strategy is employers can provide them with antiretrovirals, can take them to the clinic, can provide them with counseling, maybe help them with their diet, just to help them feel a bit better, because if they feel better, they're going to be a bit more productive. Otherwise, employers can't do much really. You can't just fire someone because they're sick all the time. Unless it is a requirement of their job that they're always there, but those are really special circumstances. And that, just as I said there, they help them out as much as possible.
Okay. Another question from Rulani Nemtangela. How am I, as a business manager, manage HIV and AIDS affecting my employees? Do I have to remove them? Okay, it's similar to...
The best thing to do is have education in the workplace. To tell people, the other employees, what HIV and AIDS is, how they can get it, what are the strategies, and also break down those barriers. A lot of people are like, oh, there's someone HIV positive in the room. If they sneeze, I'm going to get it. Which is completely wrong. If we've got education in the workplace and tell people exactly what the facts are, it'll create a lot more amicable working environment and a lot more of a positive working environment.
Okay, another one. This is the second last one now. Which socio-economic issues that the business can control and how they control it? Secondly, how does the business adapt to socio-economic issues that they cannot control?
There's no real socio-economic issues that we can control. I mean, you cannot control that your workers are going to be HIV positive. You cannot control that someone's going to break into your business and steal there. You can, however, adapt to those risks. So, for instance, crime, you could get a security company, put a wall around your premises, electric fences. You could contribute to the community in terms of job creation so that there's less crime. You could have HIV AIDS programs to prevent the spread of HIV AIDS. So you can't control them. That's why I said it's in the macro environment. In the macro environment, we cannot control anything. We can only adapt to it and try and influence it as best as we can in our local community. Okay,
last one. Selo Arthur is asking, please explain to me how global warming and pollution can affect the business, because I heard it is a socio-economic issue.
That's quite a big one. If you look at global warming, it increases the sea levels so that there's more, there's greater strength storms. If you've got greater strength storms in your country, that's going to damage your businesses. It's also going to damage infrastructure, which is going to mean the government's going to have to fix that. If the government fixes that, they're going to need more money from taxpayers. That means they're going to tax your parents and you guys when you start working a lot more. So that means you're going to have less money. That means you might fall into that poverty trap. And as I explained to you guys earlier, that poverty trap, you might go to crime, and it leads to a whole bunch of other issues. I wouldn't say it's a socio-economic issue, but it can lead to other socio-economic issues. That's more of an environmental issue.
All right. Can I just tell them one more thing? Mindsetters, don't forget that this coming Saturday, I will be in studio with all our awesome teachers from 9 to 1:30. We're doing maths, physical sciences, and life sciences prelim exam paper 1 questions. So we do have Saturday school this coming Saturday. I will post everything on Facebook, so make sure you tune in. Dave.
Right, guys, let's go to our second last question here. So we got Richards Bay Minerals is a mining company situated in Richards Bay. Explain how the company can improve the following challenges faced by the local community. Use examples to motivate your answer. Right, so that goes to one of our questions that we had earlier, where they said, you know, if you give an example in there, what can we do? So the first one is poor educational facilities, and as you guys have seen from earlier questions, education plays a big thing there. So we could provide building new schools with technical subjects, providing resources, supporting school governing bodies by funding the appointment of additional educators. That's quite a big thing. I mean, if I look at our farm in the Eastern Cape, where my family's from, there's not a lot of good schools there, and you've got this massive youth population that just don't have good teachers. They don't have the facilities that they need. So that means they're going to fall into that poverty gap even more. As you guys can see, it's that downward spiral that people struggle to get out of. Right. Next one is the high crime rate. What could they do? Right, they could create jobs for the local people, and they could also support crime prevention structures. Right, as I'm sure you guys have seen, there's a lot of companies out there that contribute to Lead SA and crime prevention lines to prevent crime, because if we've got a lot of crime in the country, people aren't going to want to invest. If they don't invest, then we're going to have high unemployment. High unemployment is going to lead to even more crime, and it's a downward spiral. Right, and then limited housing infrastructure. So what could they do? Building of houses for poor families, right, and renovation of dilapidated houses. Okay. Right, let's go on to our question 7 here. Right, this is our essay question. So now we need to analyze the nature and process of corporate social investment. Right. The next part of the question is illustrate how it works, and then discuss the benefits and problems of CSI for both the business and communities. Right? Use current examples to illustrate your answer. So this is asking us 3 different things here. So the first one is analyze. The second one is we must say how it works, right? And then the third one, we must give the benefits or the pros and cons for both the business and the local community. Okay. So let's look at what they had to say here. So firstly, they give the introduction. Right, corporate social investment refers to the contribution that the company makes to uplift or develop and solve problems in the community. Right. So generally, most of the employees of the company come from the local community. That's what I was saying to you guys. Right? We have to look after our local community, because our local community are not just our customers, but that's where we get our employees from. If we don't look after them, then they're going to leave us and our business is going to fold in. Right, so therefore, the company deems it fit to invest some of its funds in projects that are much needed by the community. Right, so you could have any of those things there for your introduction. Right, so social responsibility programs in nature. So corporate business engages the local community with, amongst others, the following programs. So we could have an HIV AIDS awareness campaign by sponsoring NGOs, non-governmental organizations. Right, education and training by providing bursaries to learners. Help them get to varsity in case they cannot afford it. Conservation of the environment and pollution, right, by sponsoring projects that preserve the environment. Right, so if you look, there's a lot of companies that are sponsoring projects to saving the rhino, because the rhino it's an amazing animal to look at, and we get a lot of international tourists from coming to see our wildlife in South Africa. So if we can preserve our rhinos, we're going to have a lot more tourists coming in. That's going to lead to a lot more jobs. Right. Poverty alleviation by job creation, and then pensioners, deprived children, and orphans by sponsoring housing projects. Empowerment of women, very important, especially seeing it was Women's Day last week, by sponsoring conferences. And then rural development by forming partnerships with strategic businesses. So let's look at the characteristics and features of corporate social investment. So corporate social investment is mainly implemented by big business, right? Because they've got a lot of money, right? Corporate social investment is enforced by legislation. CSI is seen as a political expectation, and CSI is seen as part of the business operations and is sustainable. Because if we look after our community are going to look after us. We're going to have a lot more customers, and in turn, we're going to be able to give a lot more jobs. Right? Business organizations choose the programs for the community, right? So either they can support education, support for education, or maybe HIV AIDS, right? They choose what they want to do, right? Business organizations support the community with the product that they manufacture, e.g. a paper manufacturing company may donate duplicating paper to the local schools, right? Which is quite a big thing there. Partnerships are formed with local communities, right? The government and non-profit organizations. And in South Africa, black economic empowerment companies play a vital role in CSI. Right, so let's move on there. Corporate social responsibility is influenced by various factors, right? So companies identify a particular need in the community and fund the project, e.g. the building of a community hall, or maybe a clinic. Right. Ethics, very important, has a decisive influence in the business, and management and employees have an important role to play in the community. Right. If we work for a company, we are the ambassadors for those company, right? We cannot go out there and act unethically, because if we act unethically, the community could turn its back on us. It also creates very, very bad publicity for us, which is going to affect the quality of our PR. We need a positive image within the community. Right. Government legislation encourages companies to engage in social investment programs. Right. Competitors force a company to engage in social responsibility programs. Right. If my competition is doing all this amazing corporate social investment, I'm going to look like a fool because I'm not doing anything for the local community. So I'm actually going to go out there and make sure that I don't get left behind. Right. So what are the benefits for the business? Right. So first of all, improved health for its workers. If our workers are feeling fit and strong, they're going to be a lot more productive. If they're a lot more productive, we're going to be able to make a lot more units. We're going to be more profitable. Then we're going to expand. If we expand, we're going to require more workers. That means we're going to decrease the unemployment rate in our local community, improve the standard of living, which is what we want to do. Sustain conservation of the environment, which may lead to a reduction in costs, which could be channeled elsewhere. So that means we could use our money and invest it in other parts of the business. This is a big one. May attract experienced employees, which could benefit the enterprise in terms of increased productivity. So as I'm sure you guys will remember, a couple of years ago in the Gulf of Mexico, there was that massive oil spill, right? That company then lost a lot of their good employees because they didn't want to be associated with this company that was polluting the environment. So they all went to their competition. So their competition got a lot of the experienced employees, which made them more productive and more profitable. Right. As I said, the community supports the business by purchasing its products and thereby contributing to the business's profitability. We look after our community, they're going to look after us. Right. The business enjoys goodwill. Very, very important. Right. This improves the image of the company, right? And any other relevant examples that you guys can give. If you feel that you can add something in there, then you need to add something in there. Right, so benefits of CSR for the community. Right, so the community provides the labor, the customers and suppliers to the business enterprise. So we need to make sure that the business looks after them because there are those benefits for the community. Right. There's provision of bursaries. Right. Improves the welfare of the society. Very important. The standard of living of the community is uplifted. So people have got a lot more money. Because they've got a lot more money, they can do more things. Right. The business needs to give something back in the form of money, products, and services. And the improved health of the community and customers. So that means that we have a lot more people that we can sell products to, a lot more people are happier with us, we all have a bigger pool of workers that we can pull from. Right. Okay, so that was for a maximum of 12 marks. So let's look at the problems of CSR for the business. The community may not support the enterprise, i.e. does not buy the product of the enterprise, right? The product might be too expensive. So say now it's a car company. Not everyone in that community can afford to buy that car. Okay. Difficulty in adherence to legislation governing the CSR. Small and medium enterprises find it difficult to implement CSR programs because CSR programs cost a lot of money. They don't always have the money to be able to afford to operate a sustainable CSR program. Right, distribution of scarce CSR resources to benefits the community may cause problems such as discrimination. We're looking after one community and not another. Then problems of CSR to the community, the benefits of the program may not filter to the intended persons within the community. There may be corruption, right? And there's insufficient provision that does not satisfy all the needs of the community, right? And it may also be rejected by the community. The business may also be hiding all the bad things that they're doing. They might be hiding all the pollution which is negatively affecting the health of the local community. So let's see what they said. In conclusion, from the above discussion, it can be concluded that many communities have benefited from CSR initiatives, yes. And corporate businesses in South Africa have to come to the rescue of many poor communities by building schools, creches, clinics, etc. Alright guys, those are all of our questions that we have for today. If you have any more questions, please feel free to send them to Facebook. Lini?
Alright, sure. Guys, time flies. Hey, when you're having fun, when Dave is on a roll, time just goes by. Don't forget guys to watch on Saturday. I will be here with our amazing teachers from 9 till 1:30 physical sciences, life sciences, and maths. 9 till 1:30 paper 1 prelim exam Saturday school. We will be going over those questions. Don't forget to post on our Facebook page and on Twitter, but I will remind you about all of that on Saturday. Thank you so much to Macmillan for bringing us this great show and for sponsoring us. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, guys. So goodbye from us.